Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guest is just back from a whirlwind tour of London, England, and Paris, France. Our guest is Patrick Young and his mother, Julie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
So, Patrick, how do you like being back to the States? Do you miss England and France?
I sort of do, because just after all that time I was there, it kind of felt like my home.
Right. What did you like about your trip?
Well, I really liked how we got to see all these different landmarks that we didn't see every day, and that we got to eat the food and really feel like what they do.
Right. Now let's back up a little bit. Who is Patrick Young?
Well, I'm a 11-year-old Vermonter. I live in Derby Lyon, and I've just been around doing some activities, reading.
So do you go to Derby Elementary?
Yes, I go to Derby.
What grade are you in?
I'm going into 6th.
Oh, so one more year, and then you're off to the junior high.
Yeah.
So what do you have to add, Mom?
Well, Patrick is a very responsible young man. He does very well in school. I'm very proud of him. But he also has other extracurricular activities that he does. And this was something that I made sure was in the paper when I knew that the timing was right. He has always wanted to do different activities. But like everyone else, if you allowed your kids to do everything, it would become very costly. And he had an interest in doing and wanting to get horse riding lessons. And so he was able to hook up with a farm, Crystal Farms, in Holland. And the owner was willing to take him on to work in exchange for horse riding lessons. So he works actually 2 afternoons a week, and then one day he rides.
Yeah, I worked yesterday.
Yes.
So what do you do?
Well, it's basically the simple chores.
Cleaning up after the horses.
Yes, and then bringing down bales of hay from our hay barn and letting them in and out, watering them.
I know before the show, Todd Pronto, my production guy, and I were joking that I think probably Patrick has a higher IQ than both he and I put together. Now, you do seem rather bright for your age. Do you do well in school?
Yes, I do. Yeah, this year during the kneecaps, I tested with distinction. And reading, I was like a few points away from being perfect.
So what do you plan on doing with yourself?
Well, when I get older, I plan on being a neurosurgeon.
So what do you think, Mom?
Well, I'm extremely proud of him, and I've often told him that no matter what he chooses, that I hope that he chooses something that he's going to be happy with and that he'll be proud to do. If it's to become a neurosurgeon, then great. If it's to be a teacher, great. It doesn't matter, except that I want him to do whatever he does, I want him to do his very best at.
Is your brother older or younger than you?
He's younger than me.
Right.
He's 9.
Right. Okay, well, let's go back to your trip. How did this trip come about?
Well, I got a letter in the mail in late fall that said that I was welcome to come study in England and France. Immediately, I really wanted to do this, and I asked my mom, and she said, well, we're going to have to get some more information first. So we went to a first big meeting with about 100 people there. Well, no, more like 60.
There was quite a bit.
Yeah.
It was in an auditorium, and it was full of people that had received nomination letters as Patrick.
Yes.
So how long was this trip going to last?
It lasted 2 weeks.
Now, had you ever been away that long without either one of your parents?
No.
No.
Did you ever worry about that?
Well, of course, that was the main concern. I wanted to make sure that he was going to be safe. And I had already seen that in his eyes, he was so looking forward to wanting to do this. And I told him, I said, well, you know, in life, sometimes you have to find out for yourself. I mean, you can get information, you can get people's opinions, but sometimes you need to find out things on your own. So I told him we would go and we would hear what they have to say. We then went online and we looked at the organization. It's anyone can go on and look. It's people to people.
Yeah,
And we went to many meetings after that.
And this wasn't for free.
This was
No.
not for free. No.
And so, and you had to raise money, and
Yeah.
different organizations also helped you.
Yes.
So what do you think about those people who helped you go?
I really, it just made me feel so good that all these people helped me when I really wanted to do something.
And I told Patrick, I said, you know, these people believe in you. They believe in you, and they want you to be able to go and represent us in the Northeast Kingdom, and to go and then to come back and to share it.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's go on to the pictures. This first photo, can you explain what we're looking at?
So this is it's the base of where the Parliament meets.
Right.
There, in which the House of Lords and the House of Commons will decide on important things, as to where do they put their funds, where do they put what their tax money was used for.
And do I also see Big Ben
Yes, there was also Big Ben
on the far right?
on the far right,
Which is actually
the clock inside of the clock tower is actually called Big Ben. It's a misconception. And yeah, the clock tower has a different name.
and actually Patrick was able to meet a former Parliament member.
Yes. We actually we were in an auditorium, and we were talking about British history and how the Parliament has been working, but not always in a good manner, like how they made us pay taxes,
Right.
large taxes.
They actually spoke about that.
Yeah, he did, surprisingly.
Now, did you ever talk about the king and queen or the other royalty and how that all
Yeah.
interconnects?
We were talking about how the queen now has no more power, and that she's more of a face than anything else. Like,
And is that
she does do important things, but
Right.
not control.
she's more of a figurehead?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
And is
that's-
that really true of Prince Charles? Probably just more of a figurehead as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't too many years ago that young people didn't travel over to Europe because they didn't have air flight. Like, for example, people say your great-grandfathers, the World War II generation, their first experience with England was during the war, because a lot of American troops were based out of England to bomb Europe. Did you ever talk about World War II at all while you were over there? Because London was pretty well hammered by the Germans.
Yes. Well, we went to the World War II Command Center in London,
Right.
and we got an audio guide, and we heard about the Blitz and the BBC and all of this and all of the things that the British had to do to prepare for German attacks.
Is there any damage? Did they keep any of the damage there just to serve as a reminder, or is there any remnants of the war left that you saw?
Not outside of the command center, which is now more of a museum. But in there they showed like broken fragments of houses and such.
Right. Okay, what is this photo?
This photo is a picture of me in front of the London Bridge. Currently, it has the 5 rings of the Olympics on it.
That's right. You were there as the country was preparing for the Olympics.
Yes.
How do you think that's going to go? Do you think that's going to go pretty smoothly, or?
Well, probably not. Because when we were there was also a lot of traffic. We were late on some things because of it.
Right. How were the English people to you?
They were pretty nice.
Were they? Could you understand them, or did that English accent, was it hard to understand sometimes?
Well, it was sometimes confusing, but you have to really understand. You have to
Concentrate and listen.
concentrate and listen. Yes.
Well, it's like my daughter spent 6 months in Australia, and their English is even something totally different, and it was kind of interesting for her to. You have the same language, English, but it's amazing how much different it can be.
Yeah. See, so I could really, when I was trying to concentrate and understand, sometimes I even caught myself speaking in English accent. I still might be able to do it right now.
Give it a whirl.
Well, I like crumpets.
Now, when they went around, there were 60 of them in the delegation throughout the Northeast Kingdom, or the Northeast region,
Right.
I should say. So delegates from Massachusetts, New York, New Hampshire, and Vermont. And some of them, on certain days, were all dressed in this kind of outfit.
Right.
So they really stood out, and people could really see that this was a group that was coming to visit. And it's kind of like here, when we have people that come and visit, it's nice to know that people are taking the time to come and see, what our culture is like.
And how would he have been dressed if he was a young English boy? 'Cause you were saying he stood out.
I think the European fashion is. I think it's. I don't want to say it's more advanced. That's not what I mean to say. There's a lot of fashion in the European side, especially in France. But he stood out with this particular outfit
Yes, because they don't really wear this.
And back to Australia with my daughter, I know she was saying in Australia, though, they had to have been 2 or 3 years behind on their fashion compared to our country. So I guess it differs. Now, what are these people doing here? Is this the changing of the guard?
Yes, this is the changing of the guard, where the guards are going to Buckingham Palace to be posted as sentries.
Right.
And right as soon as they passed us, we crossed through King Charles's garden, and saw the old guard that was going back to their barracks.
Now, how does somebody become one of those guards? Did you learn that? Because to me, it must be an honor, but it sure seems like a boring job.
Well, yeah. Well, it's sort of like our army, where you have to get tested and go through certain military show your skills, and yeah.
And your father's in the Army,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And so you know all about the American Army.
Yeah.
But how long are these guys on duty for at a time? Do you know?
I really don't know. Yeah, but I do know that if you're going to be in the Royal Guard, the best job is to be a musician. Because as soon as you're done with the ceremonies here, go right back to your barracks, the rest of the day off.
Did they say that to you?
Yeah.
So they were honest.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you're a sentry, you get to stand in your little sentry box with your heavy gun and just waiting there.
So you got to experience a lot of culture, including you also had an opportunity to visit Shakespeare's grave, and that is right there on the screen.
Yes, Shakespeare's grave is inside of Stratford upon Avon Church. They buried him in there as a great honor for all of his writing and poetry.
Have you gotten to the point where you've read Shakespeare yet?
Well, we've read a little bit of Shakespeare, but they're trying to not really over-push us.
Right. You ever been to a play with Shakespeare?
No.
Not
But we
yet.
did go see a musical.
Right. Did you study up on England and France before you went, just so you would understand some of
Yes. Yeah, they had us do a project. Mine was on French cooking. And, and then everyone presented it, so we all had a little bit of background of what they're like.
You know, with this picture, I don't think there's anybody in this country that has not seen Stonehenge. What did you learn about this landmark?
I learned that they really do not know how it happened, but they think that it could have been created by like an Egyptian technique from crossing it. Like they don't see it comes from Wales, and Stonehenge is more on the edge, like closer to an edge. So they think that they transferred it by boat, and then they put them on the ground, and then you used logs to roll it, like the Egyptians did.
Now, do you have your own theory? Did you manage to resolve this issue that had plagued people for thousands of years?
Really, I do not know, because it comes from thousands of miles away, and
The rocks did.
yeah, the rocks did, and they're there. And how did they make a cross piece with 3 rocks?
Right. So, did you spend your first period of time in England and then your second part in France?
Yes.
So you had you could also understand what they were saying to a degree, because you're bilingual, right?
Yes.
Through your mother, Julie?
Yes, my family's
Oh, your family.
my adoptive family are from Quebec,
Right.
and they really, as I was growing up, made us speak French in the home, and I try as much as possible, but it's so hard to continually try to encourage them to do it. But both boys can understand French, and I was really glad when I knew that he was going to go to France, because I was hoping that this trip kind of shows him a world outside of this area. I love this area, it's beautiful, but I wanted him to also see that there's other opinions and there are other viewpoints, and it was going to be a French viewpoint.
Now, you were telling me before that because you could understand French, you got to hear some pretty bizarre conversations of people passing by.
Yes, there was this one bizarre conversation that really stood out. It was how this person was threatening the other person. They said, "You're gonna die in a fire that I did not start. And during this fire, I'm gonna stab you with a spoon."
So that really sticks out in your mind. So what were you thinking at that time?
I was thinking, creeper alert, let's get out of here.
So what is this a photo of?
Well, this is a photo of the Queen's Gardens in the Palace of Versailles. It in the top left-hand corner is where the Queen's residence is, and she would be able to look down over her gardens and see what this one gardener did. Yeah.
And of course, people know what this photo. It's the Eiffel Tower.
Yes, we got to go to the top of the Eiffel Tower. It was amazing. You could see on miles on end.
Now, my daughter, when she was in Europe, she went to the top of that, and she said she was scared all the way up to the top. And did it bother you at all?
Well, it bothered me a little bit because, just such a great height. I'm not scared of that, but this is really, really high.
And I think he called you from
He
the
did.
tower.
He did. The organization, they were good on their word. They said that they were going to allow the kids to call us. Now, unfortunately, living right on the border, I wasn't able to always receive the calls, or some of my calls went directly to voicemail. One of the calls was from the Eiffel Tower, and I could tell that he was very excited and he was very nervous because he was laughing and giggling as he was talking. And he said, "Oh my goodness, this is such a great trip, and I can see so far away." And then he had that nervous laugh. So it was nice to hear. We obviously had an itinerary, and I knew that he was going to be there that day. But to hear him at that moment from the top of the tower was just amazing.
How long did it take you to get to the top?
Well, it took us about, say, 3 minutes from the second floor.
And you go up on an elevator, correct?
Yes, we go up on an elevator.
Now, how tall is it?
I believe it's 1,852. It's either that or 852, but
Okay, you're not really sure. That's okay.
I know the number is 852. I don't remember if it's 1,852.
Okay, in France, you did see remnants or reminders of the war, World War II. What is this a photo of?
This is a photo of an observatory that the Nazis had occupied. They would be able to see through this slight hole inside the concrete. They'd use their binoculars or telescopes to see if any British were invading.
Right. How did that feel, knowing that when you were right there, that was just a few decades ago, there were Nazi soldiers, and some of them really were not that much older than you, because by the end of the war, they were conscripting kids who were just teenagers, but they were there. How did that feel?
I was kind of uneasy about it because I'm like, a lot of people died here, and I felt bad that they had to because of what they believed.
Right. I know just a few weeks ago on this very show, I had 3 men, and 3 of them had served in World War II, and one of them, he would have been right out in front of that bunker, as in the ocean, because he landed troops onto Omaha Beach, and that's where that bunker was, correct?
Yes, I was on Omaha Beach.
Right, and Eddie Prano from Derby, right on the Derby line border, he was one of the first soldiers, or he was a sailor, and he brought in the soldiers on the first wave to hit Omaha Beach, and then he would take off, go get more, and bring them in, and their mission was to destroy those bunkers and the men in it. Now, what about this photo? This is a photo of the men who didn't make it home.
Yes, the white crosses are for the regular soldiers, and then the stars, the David stars, are for the Jewish soldiers that fought.
Right. When you look at all those people, because there's all those stones, do you find it hard to believe how many people died there?
Yes, it was just really sad because that's only 40% of all the men who died. The other 60 were brought back home and buried.
And I suspect that some of them were never found just because a lot of the landing crafts were actually blown up out, as they were coming in.
Yes.
So, Julie, do you think this trip has widened his horizons? Is he a different kid?
I think in a way he is. He's been able to see all these amazing places, in particular the cemeteries right near Omaha Beach. I was there when I was in college. I ended up traveling, and but it's amazing to think that at this age that he was able to go. He was always a very responsible kid, but I know that this will really shape his viewpoint and his opinions because he's gone in this.
Where's your next journey to?
Well, I don't know yet, but I plan to go back.
Are you planning on going back to Europe?
Well, of course, there were so many generous people, some people we didn't even know, and all the service organizations that gave to Patrick, which we will all return to provide a presentation for. But as I explained to Patrick, that his travels now will really require him to have to work for them and to earn money for them. And so I have no doubt in my mind that, once he has gathered enough money, that he will want to be able to go on to another trip, either with People to People or with another service organization. And I fully support him in doing that. I think that's how we have a better understanding of people.
If you, the flight took you how long? 5 hours?
5-6 hours.
Australia. Do you know how long you're in the air to go to Australia? It's
Isn't
20 something hours.
Yeah.
That's I didn't go there, but my daughter, she flew out and she flew back, and she said it's just amazing that an airplane can stay up that long, because she she flew out of Boston to LA and then all the way to Australia, and it was just unbelievable. Did you find the journey over to be pretty comfortable though? Hey, because you're a seasoned flyer.
Yes, I fly to Phoenix every year, which is about the same time in the year.
Yeah. And you even fly alone, probably.
No, my dad usually picks us up where my grandparents go.
Okay. Do you have any country that you would just love to go to next, besides England and France?
Well, I'd really like to go to Italy or one of those other countries around there.
Okay, you only have about 2 more minutes left. What more would you like to tell the viewers?
Well, I'd like to tell them that I had a great time in England and France. For all those donors that gave me money, I just want to thank you. And that anybody who has been given a letter, that it is a lifetime experience. You do want to go.
Well, that was powerful.
I know.
And
I know.
Do you echo those words?
Oh, I do. The world is changing, and it's changing very fast. And I didn't meet any criticism. Actually, people were very supportive. But there were many people that were nervous because he was so young. And as I tried to explain to people, he is young. He's very young. But I understand my child. And not every child at 11 years old could go over. But I knew he was going to be fine and that he would not be homesick.
Oh, so you were younger than a lot of the other young people?
Well, most of them were 12. We even had one that was 13. But some were around 11.
Right, okay. Okay, I want to thank both of you for coming on today, and I want to encourage you to keep on dreaming and keep on shooting for the stars. I think you're headed in the right direction.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.